Today is a bit of an update video on this Juniper procumbens nana. So basically, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next to the tree. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So can you believe it's already been a whole year since I did the first video on this tree? So last time I styled this tree, it was a really big overgrown little juniper, and since then I've basically put it into a training pot, a nice little terracotta pot. So I used akadama and pumice as the soil medium, and yeah, I mean, it's grown so nicely. You can see how it's really filled out. So if you haven't seen the video where I style the tree, go check that out before you watch this video, and then you can kind of see the progress on this tree. But yeah, I just wanted to also take some time to just thank you all so much for the support. I mean, it's been a year since I started this channel, and I'm just so thankful for all of you, and all your comments and everything you do for this channel. It just means the world to me. But yeah, so basically, we're gonna be working on this juniper, and all I really want to do today is just clean it up a touch. It's grown really nicely. You can see there's some really long extensions on the tree, which is really cool, and I'm really happy with that. But yeah, I don't want to do too much to it. I just basically want to remove any wasted foliage on the tree, that's not really serving the tree at this time. And currently we're in autumn at the moment, late autumn. So this is actually quite a nice time to do, a very small prune on the tree. Remove quite a bit of the strong foliage at the top of the tree to allow the bottom branches to strengthen and kind of kickstart it in spring. And then since then, I've also obviously taken the wire off the tree. So you can see the branches have really set nicely into place. But yeah, I'm excited for the journey of this little tree. And my plan is this tree isn't going to be a very big tree. The idea is for it to be a nice small tree. You can see when I did repot it, I kind of positioned the tree at a different angle. So it's looking a lot nicer. We could go for that semi-cascade look, but I'm kind of excited to see how this tree develops. So before we get started, you can see how I allowed the wire to eat in a touch. So you can see there's a bit of the scar, but this I'm not really worried about because it will heal over time. It's just going to create more character in the tree at a later stage. So it's really okay to allow it just to eat in a bit. You obviously don't want it to swell too much, but you can see how this has allowed the tissue to harden, and that's why the branch sets so nicely. Cool, so here's a slight close-up of the tree. So I'm going to kind of just swing it around for you guys to all see. I would appreciate it if you let me know down in the comments what you think and how you think, it's done so far. A lot of people were really stressed and they thought I took way too much off the tree, but you can see how it's really bounced back. That's why, timing is very important, and, never style a tree that isn't strong and healthy. Cool. So, like I was saying earlier, you can see here how long this extension has grown. So I want this to thicken up. So I'm going to allow this extension to grow a bit more. You can see that there's some more extensions on the tree. So if you're happy with the thickness of the branch, then you're welcome to trim it back, and kind of, that will allow the branches to split. But for now, I kind of want this long extension on the tree. So I'm not going to be trimming that back today. I just basically want to climb inside the tree and maybe give it a little bit more of a prune, like I say, all that wasted foliage. So kind of, I never like to call these things rules. I always like to call them guidelines. So what I am going to start with is a good guideline, is kind of anything growing directly downwards. You almost want to imagine if the sun couldn't enter that section of the tree, like I've mentioned before in previous videos, That's something you really want to remove. So we can start by trimming anything growing downwards, anything really in the interior bits of the tree, or like what I like to call the armpits, or the V's or the triangles in the tree. We're going to start trimming those off. And basically, while we're doing this, we're also going to kind of distribute the energy on the tree. So allowing there to be a fairly, equal amount of foliage throughout the tree. So I'm just going to swing this around again, and I'm going to kind of just see what I want to start trimming off. I might put some more wire on today, or I might just let it rest for a bit. And that's the cool thing, is there's no real rush. As long as you're just kind of doing the basic work to the tree, that's perfect. Cool, so straight away, I can see there's some little bits of foliage growing downwards. I'm just going to trim it off. And I can use my scissors for this because I'm removing all of the foliage. But obviously, remember with your junipers, you don't want to trim it like a hedge. So you really want to rather pluck it if you're trimming the tips of the branches. But if you're removing the foliage, then that's very different. So I'm basically just coming in and I'm just going to start trimming anything off that I feel like needs a good trim. And I mean, since this video, I really hope I've encouraged more people to do this. So it'll be cool if you even comment some photos of your trees, if you've styled any junipers because of this video, or even if it's not because of the video, if you've kind of been busy with some projects. I love to kind of see what you guys have done, and I'm sure other people will really appreciate it too. Cool, so you can see like I'm climbing right inside, and I'm just removing all of this foliage right inside the tree. You can see how that's a nice new branch which I'm going to keep. I'm just leaving a little clump of foliage on the edge. Cool, so you can see how there's one branch growing out here and there's another branch growing out there. So basically what I mean by cleaning up the armpits is I kind of want to show off those V's. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to clean up anything growing in those V's. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can see how I've cleaned up that V in the tree. So I want to do that. And you can always take off, less is always more. You can always take more off at a later stage if you're unsure. But rule of thumb, you want to remove about maybe like 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters worth, kind of depending on the length of the branch. But you can see how I've kind of shown that V in the tree. So I basically just want to go across the tree and kind of do that to each little branch where it splits. So now you can see this long extension in the tree. You can see over here. So I want to trim these back just a touch to allow these to now split into 2 branches. And that's what we're going to start doing by building that ramification. And the reason why I don't want them to grow out is because under here is a branch growing right at the bottom. So I don't want this to now grow too long and kind of shade off the branch under it. I want to kind of start, getting those layers in the tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm just going to trim off the long new growth on the tree, just like that. And that will allow more energy to be pushed back into the branch, and this branch will get stronger and hopefully start splitting, and then we're going to start building more branches on the tree. So I could have potentially gone a little bit further back, but because I'm still unsure, and because of the time of year, I don't want to do too much of a drastic prune, and also with me putting a bit more movement in this branch later on, I kind of want a bit more length in the branch. So now I'm going to climb up a little bit more. So you can see that's where I pruned originally, where it splits there. And now above this, there's quite a lot going on in these branches. So again, by doing this, we're going to get more sun into the tree, which means the branches are going to get a lot healthier. And I also find these can be little, nests where bugs can hide. So it's always good to come in, clean it up, check what's going on. And this is very normal, your tree's going to, hopefully, if it's healthy, it's going to back bud. And then you're going to get this growth growing right in the interior bits. But we kind of don't want that. We want to show off these branches in the tree. So I'm coming in, and you can see how I've kind of cleaned up, maybe about 1.5 centimeters on this branch over there, and I've allowed a small little clump of foliage on the branch. But what's nice is now we can kind of see inside the tree a bit more. Let me just take those off so you guys can hopefully see a bit easier. And we're going to go through the tree, and we're going to basically just clean up the base of each little branch. Awesome, so I'm nearly done trimming this juniper. I'm really happy with the way it's turning out. Again, like I say, there's still a long way to go with this tree, but it's really exciting to see what's going on. It's nice spending time again with all of you on the same tree, and I plan to do so many more progressions like this. I think it's a really nice way to learn bonsai. But one thing about trees is they do take time to grow. So you can imagine in just a year's time, it's only grown this much, and junipers are quite slow growing, but we've got time on this earth, so we might as well fill it with cool, exciting projects. And I always say, if you want to get into this hobby, never just have 1 or 2 trees, because you might end up killing it with too much love. It's really hard watching a tree grow for so long. So if it's something you really want to get into, I always suggest try have a few trees, a few different species, so you can really make it a fun, exciting hobby. And this is really all I think I want to do to the tree today. I kind of just want to clean it up. I want to see what's going on. I want to check that there's no pests or anything inside the interior bits of the branches. And then those green little needles on the branches, when those turn brown, you can actually take like a brush or even just an old toothbrush, and you can actually brush those little brown needles off, and then you'll start to see that those branches start forming really nicely. And you can see that a lot of the younger branches on this tree were green, and now they've formed into nice brown mature branches. And it's really cool to see how the branches have set, you know, a bit of the curves and so on that I went for are there. And there's probably still quite a few changes I want to do on this tree, but I think I'm going to do another updated video for all of you in springtime or in summer, and then I can trim away some of the branches and we can do a bit more wiring on the tree. But I think it was a cool little video for you guys to all see how it has grown and it's doing fairly well. And yeah, you can see how I've repotted it, and I think this is going to be a really cool little juniper. So before I do go, I feel like there's 2 branches I potentially want to remove. So the more I've kind of been looking at the tree, and I feel like this is a decision, you know, I could make right now. I could hold off until spring, but because the tree is very healthy, there's a lot of foliage across the tree, I don't need to stress too much, and they're not giant branches. But I do feel like this branch over here, it's got such nice movement and so on, but I do feel like it's taking away from the trunk line of the tree. So I think I'm going to start by just removing that branch, just like that. And you can see it was almost in that curve over there, which again, as a guideline, you generally don't want the branches to grow in those curves. You kind of want to show off those curves. And I really feel like that's going to add a lot of value to this tree. You can kind of see the trunk line a bit easier. And then I feel like this branch growing upwards, I'm going to remove, even though I could have wired it down. I feel like this branch already is splitting. It's splitting into a bunch of new other branches, which I could rather wire. And you can see how it's just going to allow it to flow a lot nicer. But yeah, you can see how I can bring these branches down over here to kind of fill in this space. But that's something I thought should be removed. I don't know what you guys think, but the branch is gone now, so I hope I made a good decision. So I hope you all enjoyed the updated video of this juniper. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to allow this tree to rest over the winter. I'm then going to rewire some of the new branches in spring or summertime, and we're going to allow this tree to develop. But it's so cool that you guys can come along on the journey and watch this tree grow with me. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will put a link to the video right at the end of this video where I style this tree from nursery stock, and then you guys can see how it has progressed in a year. But I hope you guys all have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.